Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian. I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada. I hope everybody has had a great week and is looking forward to a healthy and productive weekend. Welcome Harman, Karthik, Freshta. Good to see students in the class. While we wait for some of your peers, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com. That's academicenglishhelp.com, as well as gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. On both of our websites, we have lots and lots of information to help you improve your English and your communication skills for the IELTS exam. You can use the code R4TYJ for a 20% discount on those websites today. I'll show you what those websites look like, and we'll use them in a moment for our listening section, practice and strategies. This is our academic IELTS website here with the blue background. You can click this big red button to join our premium package. We are world leaders when it comes to IELTS exam preparation. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. It doesn't cost very much, so it's worth your investment. This is the general IELTS website here at gieltshelp.com. The green background. Click that big red button to join us there. Hi, Pavan. Hi, Sammy, and welcome to our moderator, Carolina. Good to see many students in this class now. This is a listening part 3, part 4 class. So it's the more challenging parts of the listening section. We're continuing with the exam that we started yesterday. If you missed that, no worries. It's okay. You don't have to have had that class, okay? Our apps, Academic IELTS Help and General IELTS Help, they link to our websites, and you can follow us on Instagram, IELTS_AEHelp and GIELTS Help. And if you have questions, send me an email to adrian@aehelp.com. Tomorrow I'll have a couple more classes for you, speaking part 2 and speaking part 3. Okay, everyone, we're going to get right into our listening, starting with section 3. And yesterday, when we did part 1 and part 2, I taught you an important strategy, which was to look at the topics of part 2 part 2, part 3, and part 4 during the instruction time. So when the audio is going and they're like, okay, this is the listening section, it has 4 parts, you will only hear the audio once. Make sure to write your answers in your booklet. Okay, so during that time, you want to look at the topics. And we looked at the topics of part 3 and part 4 as well, and we know that part 3 is going to be some kind of a group project discussion, and part 4 is going to be something about climate change. So that much we know. Okay. All right. So I'm going to hop over to the websites for the audio. I'm just going to get into my student account at the top there. And then I've got my computer-based IELTS let's jump back there. It's hitting buttons a little bit, too excited. So yeah, you got your computer-based practice exams, full online course, workbooks, whole bunch of lesson videos, and then you've got a ton of audio CDs. This is our first exam, so we're going to go to CD1 track 3. Now everyone, I'm playing the audio through my headset microphone and a nice little Bose speaker. If it's quiet for you, turn up the volume or use a headset. And students, put your answers on a separate sheet or into a separate document, not the chat. Okay, when students put wrong answers in the chat, it's really confusing for everybody. So don't put your answers in the chat. Save them till the end, and then we will go through the answers together at the end. Okay. All right, everyone. So here we go. Let's listen, let's answer, and then we'll go through it together at the end and talk some strategy.
Now turn to section 3. Take some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Listening section 3. You will hear 3 students organising a class project. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
I just got an email from the professor saying the due date for our European History group project has been pushed back to Monday.
Great! That means we'll have the weekend to work on it.
I suppose that's good news, but I don't really want to do any homework on my weekend. I had planned to go away with my girlfriend for some relaxation this weekend.
I suppose that's understandable. Maybe we should just have it done by Friday, the original due date. That gives us today and Thursday to finish it.
We can do that, I think. I'm available tomorrow. How about we spend today planning it, assign tasks to take home with us and do tonight, and then meet tomorrow and put it all together? Does that sound right?
That works for me.
That doesn't work too well for me. My afternoon is very busy. I guess I'll just have to burn the midnight oil tonight.
What has you so tied up, Evan?
I have a basketball game after school today, and then my favourite football team plays this evening at 7. It's okay though. I'll get the work done. Let's get started on the planning.
All right. So we have to come up with a 3-panel poster about a topic in European history. I already bought the material for the poster, so we don't have to worry about that.
How much was it?
It was £3.
Okay, we'll each give you £1 for the poster board.
No, don't worry about it. My dad paid for it anyway.
Sounds good to me.
Right then, since there's 3 of us, my idea was that 2 of us could take care of the writing part of the project, while 1 of us could look after the artwork, making the poster look smart.
I'll do the artwork. I think I'm a pretty good artist.
I'll be happy to do half the writing. What topics are we going to choose?
Well, the professor said the topic has to be an event that took place somewhere between 1400 and 1800, so we can't do either of the world wars.
That's too bad. My dad is an expert on the Second World War, and he could have helped me with my part. What are we going to do instead?
You now have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen to the rest of the discussion and answer questions 27 to 30.
I was reading my textbook the other day and I read some really interesting information on the French Revolution.
That's a really good idea.
I know. How about instead of doing a summary of the French Revolution, we write about some of the people involved instead?
Oh, I like that idea. So who are some of the important people?
Well, there's the King, Louis XVI.
Robespierre was important, I think.
Yes, he was. And of course, Napoleon Bonaparte.
We should have 4 people, so you can each write about 2 people.
How about Marie Antoinette?
Okay, so we have 4 historical figures. Each of you are going to write about 2. Now we have to decide how much we're going to write. Remember, we have to fill up a 3-board poster.
That's a good point about the 3-board poster. Maybe we should do a 5th person, then we can have 2 figures on each side with 1 in the middle.
Good idea. We can make the middle one really important. We'll make that one Napoleon. As for a 5th person, how about Voltaire?
Good. So how about I do the important one on Napoleon and a smaller one on Robespierre?
Okay, and I'll do the other 3.
How long should each topic be?
I'd say 200 words each for the small ones and 450 for the big one on Napoleon.
I think that sounds about right. What do you think about meeting up later on?
That is the end of section 3. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
All right, so check your answers in that half minute, students, to make sure that you didn't make any silly mistakes. Your spelling is correct. You're not missing any words. So use that time. Sometimes students don't use the half minute time to check. They just kind of stare into space or look at other parts of the listening, but you should use that half minute to check your answers. All right, so here we go, section 3. First question, 21. Write no more than one word. Most of the answers these days in the listening of the IELTS exam are one-word answers. Number 21. What day of the week does this discussion take place? So in the beginning, they're talking about when the project is due, how many days they have to do it, and it's not like part 1, so they're not going to give you the day clearly. They're not going to be like, okay, today is Monday, because that's going to be too easy. In part 1, they might do that, but not in part 3. So in part 3, you have to be a little bit more attentive and figure out what the answer is from all of the information that's being given. Okay. So Carolina says number 21 should be Wednesday. Yeah, absolutely. And how do we know that? So how do we know that it's Wednesday? If you can't figure that out, always use the transcripts. Okay. So the transcripts are the scripts for the audio at the back of the book. Anytime you're studying good IELTS materials, you should have the transcripts. We have the transcripts for all of our audio, of course. Okay, so here's the transcripts. All right, and starting even with the instructions. So now turn to section 3. Take some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Okay. So here in the beginning, Megan says, I just got an email from the professor saying the due date for our European history group project has been pushed back to Monday. Okay, and then Anna says, great, that means we'll have the weekend to work on it. So it's obviously before the weekend. Okay, so from this and from this, we know that they're talking or having this group discussion before the weekend. And then Evan says, I suppose that's good news, but I don't really want to be doing homework, excuse me, on my weekend. I'd planned to go with my girlfriend for some relaxation this weekend. Yeah, so then Megan says, I suppose that's understandable. Maybe we should just have it done by Friday. So obviously it's not Friday yet if they're planning to have it done by Friday. Megan says the original due date. Okay, so that gives us today and Thursday to finish it. So this is where the answer is coming from. Okay, so here they say, let's finish it by Friday. It gives us today and Thursday to finish it. So if they have today and Thursday to finish it, today must be Wednesday, right? Wednesday, Thursday, and then hand it in on Friday. Okay, so really important tip. Use the transcripts, especially when you're not sure how that answer came or where it came from. Okay, the transcripts should be in the back of any good IELTS book. All right. Okay. So let's jump back to the questions. All right. So the answer here is Wednesday, and the easiest way to do it is just the short form. Wednesday, like that. Okay, W-E-D. You do not need to write the whole word. You can just write the short form, and that's fine. All right. Use as little time as possible writing so that you can maximize your listening attention. Okay, so Wednesday. All right. And then we have a chart completion. So here you had to complete this chart, write no more than one word, again, for each answer. Column 1 is the group's task, and then when the task is completed. So today, which is Wednesday, what are they doing? They're actually doing this right now, so it should be fairly easy. They're not assigning the project. It's simpler than that. Yeah, Carolina says planning the project. So, planning or plan. Now here they have doing, putting. So planning. Okay. With ing makes the most sense. So Harman agrees. Paulo says discussing. I don't think they're going to give it to you for discussing. They're going to give it to you just for this word, planning. They're actually planning the project, right? And the woman says that gives us today to plan the project, okay? Sammy, not preparing the project, because that could be misunderstood as well. So in the listening, it is fairly important that you have the exact same word that was used in the audio, okay? So here it's planning the project today, doing the project tonight, and then putting the project together. And this should be fairly simple, because in the previous question, we know that they're handing it in on Friday. So they're putting together the project. What is 23? Logic says the best answer quite possibly is. Sammy says tomorrow. Yeah, today, tonight, makes sense. Tomorrow. Okay, don't overcomplicate. So they are putting it together tomorrow. Okay. All right, so planning and tomorrow. All right. 24, multiple choice. For multiple choice, you have to really pay attention to the question. Think about it as a statement. So 24 is who paid the cost of the poster board. So here you have to think that they're probably not going to use a question in the audio. They're probably going to use a statement, something like, I paid for the poster. Now, in this type of a multiple choice question, it's very likely that they're going to paraphrase the word paid. So when you're listening for this, you're probably not even going to hear the word paid. What do you think you might hear instead of paid? Okay. So again, don't focus on the choices so much, because these are often paraphrased and can be fairly tricky if you're trying to focus here and think that it's going to kind of pop out at you. They're not going to pop out at you because they're using lots of paraphrasing and inferred information. I think here they say, my dad. So instead of paid, Vlad says invest. Maybe. Yeah, Natalie says bought. Yeah, probably something like that. Okay. So in the audio, it's very likely that you're going to hear a complete replacement of words. And they'll say something like, oh, I bought it, or my dad bought it. Okay. So you're not hearing the same words, okay? So careful with that. So focus on the paraphrasing. Focus on a statement, not the question of, or not the question form of the multiple choice, okay? And focus on hearing the answer instead of staring at the choices. It's very important for multiple choice, and use logic, okay? Very, very important. So the correct answer here was B. I see some of you got that in the chat. So some of you are like, oh, that was B, I got it. Yeah, so they said, my dad bought it anyway, I think is what the audio actually says. So B is the correct answer. Okay. So then we got into these couple of questions here. Write no more than 3 words and or a number for each answer. And you had this question, number 25. It's just one question and you have 2 blanks. Okay, so the topic must be an event that occurs sometime between the years something and something. Okay, so Anmal says 14 and 1800. Sammy concurs. Most people concur. Yeah, and so please don't write 14 and then the word 100. It's more complicated. It takes longer. So just use the numbers. And then in your answer booklet for 25, you should simply, if you're doing the paper-based exam, you should simply just write 14 and 18. Okay, just with a comma. That's fine. So 14 and 18, because they're just the 2. You don't need the word and. You can use a hyphen if you want. Okay. What topics would the male students like to write on but cannot due to assignment restrictions? So the guy's like, it's too bad that I can't write about that because my father's an expert on it. Okay. Sammy says Second World War. Yep, that's okay. There's an easier way to write that, Sammy. Okay. Lily writes Second World War, all capitals. That's good. Second War is not correct, especially with lowercase letters. Huang says World War II. That's okay. Carolina says War World II. That's not correct. You can't change the order of those words, Carolina. So it has to be World War II. War World II is incorrect. Okay. Demigod Special World War II. If you don't capitalize the W's, it's incorrect. Okay. Arda, right idea, capital W's. Okay. So big W, Roman numeral 2. That's the fastest, easiest way to write World War II. Okay. Pavan, same thing. The word world has to be correct. Okay. David, yeah, he says Second World War. That's okay as well. It has to be all capital. Okay. This is trickier, but all capitals. Okay. So lots of different ways to do this, but it's the name of the war, so it has to be all capitals. If it's not capitals, it's wrong. Okay. Easiest way, WW2. Okay. All right. Yeah, some of these abbreviations can be a bit tricky. You have to know them. You have to learn them. Okay, and then the last question was a very visual question. So they're talking about their poster board project. And poster board projects are very common in high school and university to do presentations. You basically have this kind of a poster that has 3 sides. It can stand on a table. Maybe some of you are familiar with it. And then you kind of put pictures on it. In this case, they're putting people on it and then a little bit of information. You see this at science fairs, at technology conventions and so on as well. So obviously they're used for business and for development as well. Okay. In this case, they're only putting one very important person in the middle, and then they're putting, it's like Minecraft, a person on the side. Okay. 2 people on the side. So that's the 3-board poster, okay, or 3-panel poster board. And they're talking about the French Revolution, and they're talking about who to put on the poster. By the way, the French Revolution, the anniversary of the French Revolution is coming up very shortly. Anybody know when that is? Just a bonus question. So when is the French Revolution? I'm going to teach you a little bit of history, and some book knowledge or lexical knowledge is really important for the IELTS exam, especially the academic. So I highly recommend reading books in English regularly on major topics in history, major topics in science. So the French Revolution, when is the anniversary? So what month, what day. Hoang Nguyen, very good. July 14th. So Hoang said it will be Wednesday this year, and it will be on July 14th. It's a little bit easy for me to remember this. So I've got a little bit of an advantage, I must say, because it's also my birthday. Yeah, so July 14th is my birthday. I'm born on the day of the French Revolution. So that'll be next week, Wednesday. Absolutely. Okay. Anybody know why the French Revolution is a very, 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 very important part of modern history? Anybody know that? So, and you should. Okay. It's the birth of something. Okay. Hoang says, we'll have a live birthday party, or we'll celebrate Bastille Day, which is the French Revolution, right? In France. So my birthday's kind of fun and important, but the French Revolution is extremely important because the French Revolution is the birth of what? Anybody know what it is before we answer the last 4 questions here? Yeah, the Bastille falls, Paulo says. Why is that important? The storming of the Bastille, Ramnik says. Yeah, but why is that important? It's the birth of... David says democracy, I guess, or something like that. Yeah, it's the birth of modern democracy. So most of us live free lives because the French said enough of kings and queens that get to control everybody's life. So we get to vote for our leadership. It started there and then it spread across the world. So the French Revolution is the birth of modern democracy. So the French people said, hey, kings and queens, we've had enough of it, controlling our fate, our land, what we can buy, what we can't buy. This is enough. We want to vote for our leadership. And then a lot of other countries very quickly said, hey, those guys, I think, have a pretty good idea. We should have a democracy. We should have the ability to vote for what we want in society. And we shouldn't have kings and queens and princes telling us what we should have. So French Revolution is an extremely important piece of the world that we live on. Paulo Reese says, yeah, now we can say that it's the birth of Adrian. And indeed, that's also true a little bit later. Okay, but remember that. So again, for the IELTS, especially the academic, but even the general, you need to know key pieces of information in history, like when was modern democracy born, right? It's important. Okay, so they have these people who were a big part of the French Revolution. They talk about Robespierre, they talk about Napoleon, Louis, they talk about 2 other key figures in the French Revolution, and they're talking about where to put them on this poster board, right? So either they put these people on the sides of the poster board, in the middle, or they don't actually have them. They don't have them in this poster board. So the first one is Robespierre, 27. Is Robespierre in the middle, on the sides, or is not on the board? 27. Lily says 27 is A. Okay. So Lily says that Robespierre is on the side of the poster board. Yeah, so they say he's an important person on the side. How about Rousseau? So number 28. Rousseau. Is Rousseau on the sides, in the middle? Where's Rousseau? Shreya says 28 is C. They don't actually have it. Yeah, we don't hear this name, so it would be very awkward to include it. So yeah, they don't talk about Rousseau. I'm not sure which Rousseau they're referring to here, but they don't discuss Rousseau. All right, and then the king, Louis the 16. Who did he ever have it bad? But I guess what comes around goes around. So 29 on the sides or in the middle. Alex Cobb says that's A. Carolina, our moderator, agrees. Sammy, our member, also agrees. Yeah, so the king was important, but not as important as somebody else. Napoleon Bonaparte. And of course, everybody knows Napoleon was a key figure in the French Revolution. So Napoleon, and then he got power hungry, and the French eventually kicked him out. So Napoleon Bonaparte is where? Carolina says B, that's third. Yeah. So in the middle, right? Napoleon being the new leader of France after the French Revolution is a very important figure. So he came into the middle of the poster, right? The center. Artist says Napoleon Bonaparte has 56 wins. That's the best in history. Yeah, Napoleon arguably was one of the greatest military strategists to ever walk on the face of the planet. No argument there. Yeah, brilliant military strategist indeed. And changed the world, in fact. We can thank Napoleon in some ways for having the modern world that we live in today and not living under the rule of tyrannical nobility. Now it's something else. Okay, so those were the answers for part 3. Let's go right into part 4. So part 4, it's quick, it's continuous. You get all 10 answers in one fell swoop. So that means that the audio does not stop halfway. You just have to keep going. We know that it's about climate change. We looked at that topic yesterday. Again, I'm going to hop back to the website. I'm just going to play the audio. Again, don't put your answers into the chat. Save them till the end. We'll go through it together. Let's get some nice momentum here. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Now turn to section 4. Take some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Listening section 4. You will hear a professor discussing climate change. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Hello class, hope you all had a good weekend. Today we will be talking about climate change. Life on Earth is going to have some adapting to do if climate scientists are correct with regard to their predictions of the Earth's rising atmospheric temperature. Humans and animals alike may have to change both their habits and habitats. The average temperature on the Earth's surface has risen by an estimated 1 degree centigrade in the last 100 years, and this trend is continuing at an ever-increasing speed. Until now, it seems that business and the environment have met as adversaries. But with the growing profitability of green products, perhaps business can play a positive role in the fight to save the environment. There is an ever-growing consensus that the cause of climate change can be linked to human action. To be more specific, environmental change is caused by the emission of greenhouse gases. Carbon dioxide is chief among these. So what's so bad about things getting a little warmer, you may wonder? Weather patterns could become more extreme. The polar ice caps could melt. Sea levels could rise, and incidences of famine due to drought could also increase. On the other hand, places such as northern Canada will likely become more productive for farming and mineral and crude oil extraction. What isn't positive about the permafrost melting is that the ice is a carbon sink, and when it melts, it releases even more carbon into the atmosphere. It's clear that humans will have to change their relationship with the Earth and its resources, but the debate remains over who should be leading that change. Advocates of personal responsibility claim that small personal measures, such as changing light bulbs or riding a bike, can make a significant difference. On the other hand, governments from developing countries are calling for economic reparations to be paid by developed nations because, after all, it is the rich who cause most of the environmental damage and made money from it. The other major group that has profited from our increasing environmental degradation are corporations. Business has always been about production and consumption. The invisible hand of supply and demand has long run our economic system, and now there is an ever-growing demand for conservation. The question is, when will consumer demand be commensurate with green technological advances that allow for environmentally friendly products to actually be more profitable than those that pollute? One option to speed up this process is to have governments impose true cost taxes on every product that is sold. This would force prices to include an economic pressure to purchase or use products that will not cause further environmental degradation or carbon emissions. There is little doubt that climate change is going to cause a drastic difference to our environment and way of life. The questions that remain to be asked revolve around how to solve the climate crisis and who will pay for the restructuring of our patterns of consumption that have led to these problems. With the ever-growing desire for green consumer goods, perhaps businesses can answer some of these questions by producing environmentally sound products. Even if business has a role to play in saving the environment, it is clear that we all need to do our part.
That is the end of section 4. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
Okay, and again, you want to check your answers. In the paper-based exam, you're going to have another 10 minutes here to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. All right, let's go through these together. So climate change, this year has been exceptionally interesting with climate change. There are some really hot days this year. All right, so first the professor gives some background information. Humanity, as well as other species, may have to drastically alter their something and something. This is just one question, and you need to get these 2 words correct. Okay, it does say write no more than 2 words. So it's very clear here. Sammy and Carolina both agree with Arda that it's habits and habitats. You don't need the word and. That would be too many words. So it's just simply habits, okay, and habitats. Okay, habits are our regular behaviors, and habitats is where we live. Okay, habits, habitats. The reason these 2 words sound similar is because we do our habits in our habitat. So we regularly live in our habitat and we do our regular activities in our habitat. So that's why in English you have these similar kinds of words, although they do have different meanings. Okay, so habits and habitats, all lowercase, common nouns. All right. And Lily, make sure you have plural on both. So you need that noun grammar form agreement. Habitats and habits. Okay. All right. So businesses and environmentalists have been odds with one another, but the emergence of something may change this. So what has emerged to change this? Okay. So what it's a noun here. Carolina says green products. Sammy says green products. Jensia says green. It is green products, and all lowercase again is okay. So green products. Yeah, we got a missing O there. So again, always check your spelling. I always look at my spelling twice to try to catch any mistakes. So green products, okay? Green products are like rechargeable batteries. So earlier today when my microphone died, it's because my transmitter's batteries died, and I replaced them, and I use rechargeable batteries. People, stop using disposable batteries. They're horrible for the environment, and they're even bad for your wallet, okay? Buy a charger, buy rechargeable batteries. Nobody lives life using batteries only once, so use green products. Oftentimes, green products are actually much more cost effective, such as not using plastic bags for grocery shopping, right? So green products are like reusable bags, reusable coffee mugs, rechargeable batteries, okay? All right. So the causes and implications. Climate change is caused by greenhouse gases, specifically, CO2. And CO2 is the easiest way to write this. So just write CO2. If you write a big 2, that's fine as well. Okay, so CO2, carbon dioxide. Again, you need some book knowledge to get good marks in the IELTS, okay? All right. Okay, so warmer weather can cause extreme patterns. Ice caps could melt and famine could occur. Northern Canada may become a beneficiary as far as food production is concerned. It could become a more productive place for what? I can't read the Cyrillic, but you have the right idea. Yeah, for farming. And it's very true. I was visiting some friends in Northern Canada a few years ago, and they said, hey, Adrian, 10 years ago we could not grow tomatoes here in North Canada. Now we can. We can grow tomatoes. In fact, somebody was just telling me that on Vancouver Island, where I live, so I live in the city of Victoria, which is on Vancouver Island. Vancouver Island's a big island, 600 kilometers long, 300 kilometers wide. So it's a big island. And somebody was telling me that they were reading a report on where in the world in 2030 or 40 people will be able to grow avocados. And they said that avocados will grow on Vancouver Island, avocado trees, by the middle of the 21st century. So you'll be surprised what's going to happen by 2050. Hopefully we're all still here. Okay, so Northern Canada may become a beneficiary as far as food production is concerned. It could become a more productive place. Not could, but is. It's definitely becoming more productive for farming. Okay, a big negative is that the melting permafrost contains a lot of carbon which will be released if the ice caps melt. Who is going to change? People who think each person is responsible for themselves believe that small steps such as using energy efficient what? I'm sure Russia will become a lot more productive as well. It already is. Yeah, absolutely. Anmal says number 35 should be light bulbs. Yeah, definitely. Light bulbs. Good word to know. Light bulb. Okay. Again, whenever you have the chance and you're buying a light bulb, buy a LED. Okay, don't buy the old incandescent light bulbs anymore. Buy LEDs. Okay, LED light bulbs. Again, just way better for the environment, and it's actually better for your wallet. LED lights last for years and years, so you don't have to change them. You don't have to go to the store. You don't have to waste your time. And in the long run, it's going to be cheaper for you to use LED lights than using the original incandescent light bulbs. So again, more green products, right? We have to do our part now as humans, otherwise there will not be a future for our children and our children's children. Okay, so governments from developing nations want developed countries to pay them for causing such environmental damage. Economics, number 36, was quite tricky. The something of supply and demand. It was an expression. If you're a business student, you might know this. Okay. It's not invincible, Sammy. It's invisible, and it's the invisible hand. Invisible is just an adjective. So you need a noun here. And the noun is hand. The invisible hand of supply and demand has been in charge of economics for a long time. People want more of it, we make more of it. So COVID-19, people need face masks. So we build 1,000 new factories that make medical face masks. And now we've got trillions of face masks. And now all of those, or a lot of those masks, are going into the garbage. Okay. David says that, and Tony Stark. Yes, if you're into the Avengers. Okay, economists wonder when consumer demand for environmental products will surpass products that pollute. One solution to this problem is to institute a something tax on each purchase which is deemed to be environmentally friendly. Okay, VG says it should be a true cost tax. Yeah, absolutely. Say true cost tax. Yeah, so we're trying to do that. That's why the price of gas is increasing as well. I wonder how many factories and people and stores actually thought about biodegradable masks when COVID hit, and especially once we realized that everybody needs masks. I don't think too many people actually focused on buying masks that break down in the soil, or biodegradable masks, and some people really didn't care about reusable masks even. And I think we're going to pay for that. So we're going to see the damage that's going to cause over the next few years to the environment, to animals as well. So, all right. This would provide an economic something to buy environmentally friendly products. Okay. Again, I guess masks were, the disposable ones were kind of expensive. Okay. All right. So this would provide an economic what to buy? And this again is a noun. Okay. So an economic, Carolina says pressure. David agrees. Yeah. So if you have to pay 2 times more for disposable batteries than rechargeable batteries, you will have economic pressure to buy rechargeable batteries, right? Yeah, so Pavan says, avoid the use of a mask and use a handkerchief mask used by Elon Musk only. Yes, there you go. All right. Good suggestion, Pavan. All right, so then we have the conclusion. So climate change is going to change our way of life. Who will pay for the necessary changes in our consumption pattern? With the growing demand for environmentally friendly goods, it is arguably businesses. Or business. In this case, both singular, plural are okay, but be careful. Usually it's one or the other. So the best answer is businesses. So arguably businesses, which can best answer this question. It is apparent, however, that we all have to have a responsibility to look after the environment. Yes, we do, because at the end of the day, we don't inherit the earth from our parents. We borrow it from our children, okay? And that's the advice I want to leave you on, is we do not inherit the planet from our parents, but we borrow it from our children. Okay, everyone, so if you were here in yesterday's class as well, Let me know what you got out of 40. So what was your total raw score? Okay, that's what IELTS calls your raw score. What you got on part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. If you missed yesterday's class, it's okay. It's on the YouTube channel. You can check it out later today or sometime on the weekend, so no worries. And if you have seen our websites, aehelp.com and gieltshelp.com, on the bottom, there's a score calculator. Okay, you can click on that score calculator and then you can type in your raw score. Angel says that she got 29. So, Angel, you would have a 6.5 total. Okay. Ramnik says 28. 28 is a 6.5, Ramnik. Okay, Paulo, 27. Obviously a 6.5 as well. So those are all the 6.5 range. Hoang Nguyen says 33. So 33 is a 7.5. Jyoti says 34, 7.5. Okay. All right, so check that out. That's on the website. You can get 6 full practice exams, over 100 hours of video lessons, and a fully interactive course by visiting ahelp.com and gieltshelp.com and signing up for our premium package. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with me today and practicing. Okay. I'll be back tomorrow for some more lessons. We'll have speaking part 2 and speaking part 3 at this time tomorrow, and we'll practice more. Okay. Thank you, Carolina, to our moderator, and thank you, members, for your contribution and for your support, and thank you, viewers. I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Again, visit us at aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general IELTS. Use the code R4TYJ today to get that 20% discount. Have a great start to your weekend. I'm Adrian, signing out from beautiful Victoria for now on the west coast of Canada. Bye, everyone. See you tomorrow.